Hello, Celtic family. What a time to be following this incredible football club. The green and white story just keeps evolving, doesn't it? And as always, we're right here bringing you everything that matters, straight from the heart of Celtic Park and beyond. The international break is upon us, but that doesn't mean things have slowed down one bit. In fact, if anything, the chatter around who's going to take the hot seat as Celtic's next permanent manager is heating up like never before. It's been a little over 2 weeks since Brendan Rodgers stepped down, and while the dust has settled on that chapter, a brand new one is clearly on the horizon. 15 days in, and we're still waiting for that all-important announcement from the board, but the conversations behind the scenes have definitely started to move. Martin O'Neill has stepped in to steady the ship and deserves credit for how he's handled things so far. From matches, solid performances, and a team that still looks hungry to fight. Yet even Martin himself admits he doesn't know what comes next. After Sunday's game, he said he's in the dark like the rest of us, waiting to hear whether he'll still be in charge for the St. Mirren match on the 22nd of November. That kind of uncertainty says it all. Something's brewing behind the scenes, and it feels like we're getting closer to a real decision. Reports from multiple outlets are beginning to align, and whispers about interviews, shortlists, and surprise candidates have taken center stage. One name that has suddenly risen to the top is Wilfried Nancy, the French coach currently managing Columbus Crew in Major League Soccer. According to Sky Sports, he has emerged as a serious candidate for the Celtic job. That update quickly spread across the football world, and for good reason. The report claims Nancy is on a shortlist alongside some other well-known names. Kjetil Knutsen of Bodo/Glimt, Kieran McKenna of Ipswich Town, Craig Bellamy with Wales, Nicky Hyen from Club Brugge, and Robbie Keane, currently at Ferencváros. The list is said to include around 8 names in total, so we're already covering most of the key figures that could realistically be in contention. There's also been mention of Efrain Juarez, the former Celtic player now managing Pumas in Mexico. His name adds a nostalgic twist to the mix, though it's fair to say he might not be the frontrunner. The more serious talk seems to center around Nancy, whose reputation in North American football has grown steadily over the past few years. The Scottish Sun even went a step further, reporting that Nancy is now considered the leading contender, with Knutsen seen as his main rival. What's really interesting is the connection that might be playing in his favor. Nancy's assistant at Columbus Crew is Wiley Ampadu, father of Welsh international Ethan Ampadu, and he happens to be a close friend of Paul Tisdale. And who's Paul Tisdale? The man leading Celtic's managerial search right now. They've worked together in the past, and Tisdale even handed Ethan Ampadu his professional debut at just 15 years old when he was managing Exeter City. That's a strong link, and it's easy to see why people are starting to connect the dots. Now, before we get carried away, it's worth saying that connections don't always equal decisions. Celtic are a club that take their time with managerial appointments, and the board have made it clear they're aiming for the right fit rather than the quickest fix. Still, this feels like more than just coincidence. Nancy's name keeps coming up, and his odds of landing the job have shortened dramatically in recent days. Betting markets don't tell the whole story, of course, and we all know how unreliable they can be when it comes to football rumors. But still, the direction of the conversation says a lot. Let's talk about the man himself. Wilfried Nancy might not be a household name among European football fans, but that doesn't mean he's not an impressive figure. In many ways, his story mirrors that of Ange Postecoglou when he first arrived at Celtic. Back then, most of us hadn't heard of Ange either, and there was skepticism everywhere. Yet look how that turned out. Nancy's coaching path has been a long, steady climb. Born in France, he had a modest playing career as a defender, spending most of his time in the lower divisions. In 2005, he moved to Canada, where his coaching journey really began. He joined the Montreal Impact Academy in 2011, developing young players before being promoted to assistant coach in 2016. 5 years later, he took over as head coach after Thierry Henry's departure, and by then, the club had rebranded as CF Montreal. During his time there, he worked with familiar faces to Celtic fans, Alistair Johnston, for instance, who now plays for the Hoops, and Victor Wanyama, another former Celtic man. His work in Montreal was impressive enough to earn him a move to Columbus Crew, one of the biggest clubs in Major League Soccer. Since taking charge, he's made a huge impact. His Columbus side lifted the MLS Cup the American League's top honor, just 2 years ago. They followed that up with another trophy, the League's Cup, a competition featuring teams from both the United States and Mexico. Individually, Nancy was named MLS Coach of the Year in 2024. That's no small achievement in a league that's becoming more competitive by the year. What stands out most about Nancy's approach is his philosophy. His teams are known for playing with purpose and bravery, relying on short, intelligent passing and controlled possession under pressure. Columbus Crew are statistically one of the best teams in the world at keeping the ball when pressed, ranking just behind European giants like Manchester City, Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, and Arsenal in that category. That says everything about his tactical identity. He wants his teams to dominate with the ball, not sit back and wait. Sound familiar? It's a style Celtic fans came to love under Ange, and it's no surprise that Nancy's footballing ideas are drawing comparisons to that golden era. Beyond tactics, though, personality matters. Whoever takes over Celtic next has to have presence, charisma, and the ability to inspire both players and supporters. Nancy appears to tick many of those boxes. He speaks with conviction, comes across as thoughtful and grounded, and clearly values connection between people as much as success on the pitch. After winning the MLS Cup, he said something that perfectly sums up his mindset. Impossible is an opinion. Later, when asked what made him most proud, he replied, "We played our way. Yes, we won. But for me, the most important thing isn't about winning. It's about having a clear vision and creating connections with people and with the team." That kind of quote resonates deeply with what Celtic stands for, a club built on unity, belief, and identity. Of course, not everyone will be convinced right away. There's bound to be skepticism when a relatively unknown name surfaces. Fans will ask if he has enough experience, if he understands the intensity of managing a club like Celtic, or if he's simply another gamble. But maybe that's exactly what makes this story interesting. Ange Postecoglou proved that sometimes the right man comes from unexpected places. Nancy, too, could represent a bold but rewarding move. His track record suggests he's ready for a bigger stage, and his connection to Tisdale could give him the edge in understanding Celtic's expectations and culture. As things stand, Columbus Crew's season has just finished, which could make the timing ideal for him to make a move. There's no official word on his contract situation, but you get the feeling he might be open to taking his next step in Europe. Whether Celtics see him as the man to lead that next chapter remains to be seen, but he's definitely one of the names to keep a close eye on as the search continues. That's where we are right now. Lots of names, lots of rumors, and a fan base desperate for clarity. The board know how much this decision matters, and every whisper, every report, adds another layer to the story. The next Celtic manager has to be someone who embodies what this club is about: attacking football, fearless mentality, and total commitment to the cause. Maybe that man is Wilfried Nancy. Maybe it's someone else entirely. But one thing's for sure: change is coming, and Celtic's next chapter is already being written behind closed doors. Now, while Wilfried Nancy's name is attracting a lot of attention, he's not the only candidate in the frame. The conversation naturally shifts to Kjetil Knutsen, the highly respected manager of Bodo/Glimt. Celtic supporters already know what his teams are capable of after those unforgettable European meetings a few seasons ago. His sides play fast, fearless football, full of movement and precision. In Norway, Knutsen is almost a cult hero, having taken a modest club and turned them into serial title challengers. Over the past 7 years, Bodo/Glimt have gone from obscurity to one of Scandinavia's most admired footballing stories, and he's the architect of it all. Right now, Knutsen's team are still fighting for the Norwegian title, sitting just a point behind Viking with a couple of games to go. That alone shows the level of consistency he's achieved. The Norwegian campaign runs late into the winter, which could complicate any approach. The board at Celtic may not want to wait until January or beyond to secure a manager, especially with big fixtures looming. But if there's a candidate worth waiting for, Knutsen would be high on that list. However, there's always the question of whether he'd leave Bodo at all. He's been loyal to the club despite serious offers in the past. Ajax made a strong push for him a few years back, and by all accounts, the deal was almost done before it collapsed. If he didn't leave for a club of that size and structure, you have to wonder what would convince him to move now. Celtic are huge in their own right, of course, but the timing and conditions would have to be perfect. Some people even believe Knutsen feels his project in Norway isn't quite finished. That said, from a footballing point of view, he'd be a dream appointment for Celtic. He plays the kind of football that supporters love to watch, attacking, positive, and full of purpose. He develops players, trusts youth, and demands intensity every single minute. There's a clear sense of identity in his teams, which fits the Celtic model perfectly. The problem is whether the board are prepared to take the risk of chasing a manager who might not want to come, or who might take months to join. In a club that demands results every week, patience isn't always a luxury available. Moving on, another name still doing the rounds is Kieran McKenna of Ipswich Town. He's one of the brightest young coaches in British football and has built a strong reputation for developing players and playing an exciting, energetic style. What makes this story particularly intriguing is McKenna's connection to Celtic as a fan growing up. That spark of personal passion often matters more than people realize. When asked about the Celtic job recently, he didn't dismiss it outright, which got people talking even more. His response to the speculation about Rangers was quick and firm. He said there was no truth whatsoever. But when it came to Celtic, his answer was more reflective, more personal. You can't help but feel that deep down, he'd find it hard to say no if the opportunity truly came his way. Still, McKenna is under contract at Ipswich, and the club have made it clear they value him highly. It's reported that it would take around £5 million to buy him out of that deal. That's a lot of money, but Celtic have spent similar figures on players in recent years. The real question is whether they'd be willing to make that kind of investment in a coach. McKenna would bring a clear identity, youth-focused development, and knowledge of the British game, all of which make him a very strong candidate. But he might see this as the wrong moment in his career to make such a big leap. Other names haven't disappeared from the radar either. Craig Bellamy has been linked, but reports suggest he's fully committed to his role with Wales. Robbie Keane has also been mentioned again, largely due to his experience at Ferencváros and his ties to Celtic as a former player. But these seem more like names of convenience than real frontrunners. There's even talk of Brian Barry Murphy, now managing Cardiff City after a spell at Manchester City's development squad. He's young, Irish, and tactically sharp, which ticks a few boxes. Still, he's only just starting to establish himself at senior level, and this Celtic job would be an enormous leap. And of course, there's the question everyone keeps asking. What about Martin O'Neill? The veteran has done a solid job since stepping in, stabilizing the team and keeping morale high. There's a sense of respect and nostalgia whenever he's on the touchline, and the fans have responded warmly. Reports suggest he'll hold discussions with Dermot Desmond this week about possibly extending his time in charge. It's not impossible that the board might ask him to stay on for a while longer if the right candidate isn't ready yet. It's happened before in football, and sometimes that kind of interim leadership can buy precious time for the right long-term choice to be made. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Hold on to your kilts, football fans, because the transfer rumor mill's gone full throttle this week. The latest whispers are that Celtic made a jaw-dropping move in the market. Gabriel Jesus, the Brazilian forward who's been lighting up the Premier League for years, is reportedly swapping the red of Arsenal for the green and white hoops. While official confirmation is still dribbling through the channels, sources close to the club claim the deal is a done deal, and Jesus is set to bring his flair to Parkhead sooner rather than later. The idea of Jesus playing in the Scottish Premiership might have sounded bonkers a few months back, but it seems Celtic are determined to shake things up. The Hoops have been chasing a top striker to spearhead their attack, and, if the rumor proves true, they're bringing in someone with world-class pedigree. Fans are already speculating how he'll fit into Ange Postecoglou's high-flying system. Will he link up with the usual suspects? Or will the manager reshape the front line to accommodate his electric pace and finishing skills? Only time will tell, but the excitement is palpable. In London, Arsenal supporters are reportedly mixed to the news. On one hand, they lose a proven goalscorer, but on the other, the swap reportedly involves a player or something else coming to the Emirates. Insiders suggest the deal is not just a straight swap, but part of a broader strategy to refresh both squads. Meanwhile, in Glasgow, Celtic fans are already dreaming big, imagining Jesus scoring crucial goals against Rangers in the Old Firm clash, and perhaps even leading the charge in Europe. Football pundits are weighing in, some calling it a masterstroke, others a gamble. After all, taking a player used to the Premier League to the Scottish game is never without risk. But if anyone can adapt, Jesus seems the type to rise to the occasion. The chatter on social media is wild, with hashtags flying and fans tagging each other in celebratory memes. Whether it's pure fantasy or a sneak peek at a seismic shift in Scottish football, the buzz around Gabriel Jesus to Celtic is impossible to ignore. Stay tuned, because if the rumors are true, Parkhead might just be about to witness one of the most eye-popping arrivals in recent memory. And football fans, whether in Scotland or beyond, are watching closely, ready to see whether the Brazilian star can turn the Scottish Premiership upside down. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.